Hi, it's Victor here from SecPoint with a weekly IT security TV news show. The first case we have is in the ongoing hacker case in Denmark with the CSC and some ex-Pirate Bay hackers being charged for doing the attack. It turns out the hackers in the case, whoever it was, had access on the system and full control for more than 5 months before it even got noticed. And that can tell a lot about the security as well. They could even disable the logging so nobody could even see any logs, and if they first noticed that after 5 months, there can be a lot of argument that maybe the security was not up to speed. Also, it turns out some of the technology was based on 50-year-old mainframe systems. Another story we have here is more on medical hacking. There are a lot of talk about hacking cars, hacking smart systems. In this story here, it's about Dick Cheney revealed that he disabled the Wi-Fi connection to his pacemaker, since there have been a lot of hacking claims that it is possible to hack those medical devices and even disable them that could lead to death in some cases. We have more about the Edward Snowden cases revealing a lot of security spying and all that. And Apple are now forcing encryption in their iOS 8 bases. And Google are saying to do the same in their Android 5 Lollipop versions. And it turns out a lot of cops and the FBI are hating this new encryption. And the whole question is if it's just a big media stunt or if the security encryption is really secure in the cases. Many reports are saying if the FBI are coming to Apple and demanding some data, they are forced to give it anyway, even if it is encrypted. Apple are claiming they don't have the keys, they cannot decrypt the data, but who knows in reality. We have a story about Europol claiming that there are only 100 cybercrime gangs or brains behind most worldwide cybercrime. So you have about 100 crime bosses or families that are controlling the whole thing. And now it's not longer that they go to a specific country to rob a bank, for example in Germany or in the Netherlands or in Denmark, but they can do everything online remotely and completely hide their tracks, making it much more profitable and more lucrative. Then we have a story about Google. They are, we talked about last week, they are paying out more and more in bug bounties, and it turned out in the latest Chrome version 38, they paid out $75,000 for bug bounties. So they are taking it more and more serious to find all the vulnerabilities. We have a story about that you can use Wi-Fi networks in a possible zombie attack to pinpoint where the zombies are coming from. Of course, it's made out as a joke in that case because the zombies would need to charge their devices. But the matter of the story is that you can see where people are walking around with their mobile devices and make a map and easily point out where people have been on specific dates, specific times. Just based on their smartphones. That can create a lot of controversy if people do not want to be spied on, seeing where they are walking and where their whereabouts is all the time. Then we have a story about the FBI. In the follow-up, FBI claimed they will hack servers overseas in countries they don't have any permission. They will do it anyway to get evidence. And we have a story on the Silk Road being hacked in Iceland. And the defendants were using the argument that the FBI hacked it illegally and they were not allowed to. But it seems out the judge rejects that defense claim due to the fact that the Silk Road never took responsibility, saying it is their server. So if it's not their server, their rights could not have been violated in that case. A lot of controversy going on in that case. Now we have another story in the latest Snowden revelations saying that NSA have undercover operatives in foreign companies. That could be, for example, in China and Germany and South Korea, where they have people on the inside that are putting in backdoor in the software, telling about the latest technology and how to bypass it. So again, it is a very cautious thing to make sure the software or hardware devices you are using are not backdoored. We also have a story about the Finfisher spyware were used to snoop on Bahraini activists, police told. So it seems there are a lot of times when there's an activism going on or some demonstration, the police are infecting it and spying on what's happening in the other camp as well. So they can do a much better preparation when the activism is going on because they will know everything via the spyware. There's also a story about a very high-risk SQL injection vulnerability discovered in Drupal 7. And that leaves thousands, if not hundreds of thousands sites open to wide attacks where the attackers can execute code on the target system or get access to sensitive data. Now we have a story here about the FBI and just what we talk about. They don't just want a backdoor in the devices, and they are not happy about the Apple iOS devices or the new Android encrypting everything, but they actually want the front door open to the phones. And they use a very strange claim in this case that the founding fathers would have wanted them to have that, clearly violating all the amendments in the US in the Constitution. And again, you could also argue that the founding fathers made those points there because they know if there's no point protecting the people, the governments would run amok. That we might be seeing already right now. Also another story about a social media app claiming to be secure called Whisper actually are now blabbing to the feds, giving the data, stalking their users, and the whole idea about the system is that it was anonymous, but now it turns out it is collecting everything anyway. What a big surprise. We also have here a follow-up story on the smart hacking. We can see now that smart meters can be hacked to cut down on the power bill, or for example, let's say somebody hacking the neighbor, they're playing too loud music, they hack their smart meter and jack up their bill so they will get a very high electricity bill the next time. And that is very hard to argue how if they have used electricity or not. So that can cause a lot of problems for the users being hacked. And we're seeing more and more devices are getting hooked up, getting online, and potential vulnerable to attacks. Then we have a story about another in the follow-up in the shell shock, heartbleed vulnerabilities. We have the Poodle Bog exploiting an 18-year-old encryption standard in SSL 3.0 that are now being exploited, but experts say that from a scale for 5 to 10, where shell shock were 10, this is only 5. And roughly about 1% of the internet traffic can be exploited in this attack. Of course, that is also a lot. Then we have a story about a Lulzsec ex-hacker saying that due to the laws in the UK, it is getting harder to publish vulnerabilities. We have seen a lot of people come out, publish vulnerabilities, that then afterwards are getting charged, are getting targeted. And basically they're just trying to improve security by publicizing a vulnerability. There can be a lot of debate in which way they do it, if they notice the vendor first or if they just release the information. And we have a story here about, in reference to this, that Microsoft and Adobe are releasing a lot of patches for databases, Java and other things, and you have to make sure you have upgraded to the latest patches. We can also see here Microsoft are releasing critical patches for .NET, i.e. Internet Explorer 0-day vulnerabilities and the SSL flaws that can be hit by worms, for example, exploiting this 0-day in Microsoft Windows Server 2008 and 2012. So if you're running these systems, it is very important that you have a firewall in front, not pointing directly to the internet, and have deployed all the latest patches. Also